What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. The pay-per-view points are starting to roll along here. We are going to talk about NXT TAKEOVER New York. Later on, we're going to do our WrestleMania predictions. Later on this week after that, we're going to do the post-show for both of those. But we're starting things off with TAKEOVER predictions. That's what we're going to be doing today. And who is we? Well, I'm your host as always, Tony Mango, and joining me as always are the usual suspects here. We've got Robert DeFelice.
Let's go, baby, NXT!
And Callum Wiggins.
I'm so happy to be joining you today.
Today? Did I say today?
Yeah, that's what I heard anyway.
I've been awake for about an hour. That makes sense. So, what we're going to be doing today is breaking down the 5 matches that have been announced for TakeOver New York. They may potentially add another one. I highly doubt it by the end of the night, because right now we are recording this in the afternoon on Wednesday, the 3rd. So the NXT episode that is leading into leading into TakeOver has not yet aired, and there's a possibility that they might do something, maybe like Dominik Dijakovic against Keith Lee, or, whatever the case may be, but I highly doubt it. Do you guys think that they're going to add anything else to the card?
No, I think keep it short and sweet. What they have is good, and I believe Keith Lee was injured or something, and that's keeping this off the card.
Rob is apparently inside a rainforest or something with noise in the background.
I stick to the idea that they'll stick with their 5-match card formula. So it's always worked in the past, so I don't see why they would change it.
Yeah, I think if they do add something else, it's not going to be technically on the card. It's going to be one of those scenarios where they record it ahead of time and they air it the week afterward. And for that matter, the Keith Lee thing, even though that was most likely their idea of what they would do, Keith Lee is supposedly injured, and maybe they're just going to push that off a little bit and do something else. Maybe they're going to just have, I don't know, fucking Kona Reeves fight somebody or whatever. But we do know the 5 matches that are scheduled for the card, they're not changing, at least what it would seem like for right now. We have, let's start off with the NXT Tag Team Championship. That is going to be the War Raiders defending the titles against the winners of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic for this year, which were Aleister Black and Ricochet, who are just all over the place in the tag team divisions now. These guys were not a tag team up until a couple, a month and a half ago. And yet we've got Black and Ricochet fighting for the Raw tag titles up until 2 nights ago. They're winning the tag team tournament. They're fighting for the tag team titles at NXT TakeOver and at WrestleMania for the SmackDown tag titles. I mean, what the hell? These guys are just sort of like, hey, let's team up and just fight for every tag team title.
They've been surprisingly consistent with their booking on the main roster. They've been very, very well protected. But in regards to the NXT side of things, they were kind of a thrown together team based around the fact that they're both too good to not be on this card, yet they weren't pictured into either the North American Championship or the NXT Championship. So this is the best way to just bring them together as a unit that just shouldn't really make sense, but they just essentially kick ass as a team, and putting them against the top team at the moment, which is the War Raiders.
Do you guys get the same idea that I have when it comes to this TakeOver card, which was their game plan wasn't necessarily let's do this match, that match, and that match, but more so, here's the list of people we need to get on the card. People are going to enjoy it no matter what we do. Kind of.
It's possible. I do think the one major thing that they had planned was derailed with Ciampa's injury. But as far as Aleister and Ricochet, I'm thoroughly surprised they didn't try to throw them together in a singles match. I guess they decided if they're going to be a team on the main roster, let's keep that consistent. But that being said, I'm not fully against the idea of them winning here.
I am. I think that if they win these tag titles, that pretty much spells that they're not going to win at WrestleMania. And it kind of forces them to stick in NXT for a little while longer. At this point, even though NXT sort of needs people, I don't want Black and Ricochet to stick around there anymore. I think that Black needs to go to SmackDown, and Ricochet, he can go to SmackDown or he can go to Raw. I mean, I'll put it this way. Black needs to go wherever Zelina Vega is going, just because there's no reason not to. And WWE should kind of take into account, like, let's try to keep marriages together and stuff. And Ricochet, even though he's staying in NXT would be better for, like, his relationship with Casey Catanzaro, it's time for him to come up to the main roster. And they've done consistent enough booking on the main roster that these guys are now really main roster people, more so than even somebody like EC3 is. So push them aside. The NXT tag titles, they don't win. It gets War Raiders another big win. I'm sure it'll be a great match too, so that's another thing that can boost up War Raiders. And then we can move on from there. Then when we get into our WrestleMania predictions, then we'll see when it comes to that.
Yeah, I just don't know who you pin. And I mean, maybe the answer is Ricochet because he's the smaller of the two or the more aerodynamic of the two. But I just don't see who you pin in that tandem.
I'd probably go Ricochet. I don't think it's going to hurt anybody.
No, I think with the War Raiders, it's just a case of, I don't want to say they've become an afterthought, but they had that great match at the previous TakeOver where they won the championships, and that was finally the moment where a lot of people started to realise just how good the War Raiders are.
And they became an afterthought, I'll say it.
Well, yeah, they essentially they haven't featured because the Tag Team Classic has been going on, and so that's taken the focus off from the Tag Team division. They haven't had, as far as I'm aware, a rematch with the Undisputed Era for the titles. They haven't defended their championships at any point in time. If they have had matches, they've typically been squash matches. I mean, for some reason they weren't in. I mean, I know the idea for the Dusty Rhodes Classic was that the winners get a shot at the Tag Team Championships, but in previous years, the Tag Team Champions have been involved in the Dusty Rhodes Classic and like beaten along the way. But it's just a case of I just think that they just haven't been featured enough, and they need a big win to cement them as like the tag team for the time being. And putting it onto Aleister and Ricochet would only at best be a temporary measure, because they'd probably end up losing it either at the next takeover or maybe even in the next set of tapings, so they can facilitate their move to the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think this is a good opportunity to give the War Raiders a strong victory over two people that are in a much higher position at the moment on the main roster than many people would probably have expected them to be, and are fighting already on the main WrestleMania cards. They don't need this title. They don't need this win. They've accomplished everything they need to accomplish in NXT. So this is just a way to give them a nice clean break in a good match.
Yeah, it's following the tradition of tag team matches at TakeOver being pretty awesome. You know that these four guys are going to deliver. And then at the end of the day, War Raiders win, and they shake hands with Black and Ricochet, and then we move on to the next segment. That kind of a thing.
I mean, put it this way: is it you could have either had Aleister Black and Ricochet stay like firmly placed in the main roster and not come back to NXT to do this thing, or you could have had the War Raiders against the Forgotten Sons.
Yeah, and which one you got to vote for? You know?
Yeah, I'm much happier with this setup.
So I'm going War Raiders. How about you guys?
Absolutely War Raiders, but I'm gonna just say the Forgotten Sons wouldn't have been the worst thing. No, they're no Black and Ricochet, but they wouldn't have been the worst thing.
They might not have been the worst thing, but they would have been pretty forgettable.
Yeah, I mean, they could have brought Harlem Heat back instead and done that or something. There's a lot worse they could have done, but it's like I'm much happier with this setup, and I think War Raiders will win.
All right, so 3 people for War Raiders. That's not surprising. We might have a little bit of a disagreement on this one, though. The NXT North American Championship match. Originally, the feud was going to be a 3-way between Velveteen Dream, Matt Riddle, and Adam Cole. Yet, they did this Adam Cole thing on the tapings, where it involved Punishment Martinez and Velveteen Dream, and they did like a, Cole calling out Velveteen Dream for the North American Championship. And then everything happened with the main event in Gargano, and they had to change things up. As far as I'm aware, and I don't know if this is just an oversight that I've had from just being overworked the past month or so, they never aired the Punishment Martinez segment. And
I did not see Punishment Martinez at all.
Good. So that has made it to where now there's less of like, well, I thought that Adam Cole was going to fight for the North American title or whatever. It's just strictly Velveteen Dream versus Matt Riddle, which is babyface versus babyface. Very interesting. And You got a guy who is not undefeated, but he has been very well protected so far against a guy who pretty much just won the North American Championship. So I don't know. I'm leaning more towards Matt Riddle on this one just because he's Matt Riddle. And I think Velveteen Dream's kind of like sort of been given the championship to give him something of a boost after he had fallen down a little bit more. Like they gave the Gargano title, gave blah, 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 blah. They gave Gargano the title to give him a boost, and then they gave it to Velveteen Dream as kind of like, well, we need to move it on to somebody else, and it can't be on Gargano. I sort of feel like Velveteen Dream's going to be a transitional champion, but it's still not going to hurt him in the long run. And if Matt Riddle wins the title here, not going to be shocked at all. If he doesn't, I'll be shocked, but I won't be, utterly floored. It could go either way. How you guys feeling about this?
I'm going with Riddle because New York City is going to be feeling the bro. And if anybody deserves to get called up, it's the Velveteen Dream. So I think put it on Riddle, call up the Dream, and everybody goes on their merry way.
I don't think he's going to get called up, though. I think that this North American title reign is going to be kind of the equivalent that we had with Aleister Black winning the NXT Championship, where he won that title, and then he just stayed around for another couple of months. I think Dream is going to stick around and be the de facto number 2 babyface, because we're probably going to lose Aleister Black and Ricochet, and then under Johnny Gargano, who is the next top babyface other than Matt Riddle being the North American title, but he'll be busy doing that kind of stuff,
Well, there's Dijakovic, there's Keith Lee.
Well, Dijakovic is a heel.
Technically, I think,
I'm
right?
Not
sure.
I think he's.
I'm not sure which one of those two is the heel and which one is the babyface. To be honest with you.
I think Lee's the babyface, and I think that Dijak is the heel, if I remember correctly. I don't know. Maybe I'm forgetting.
See, I get the opposite vibe, but I don't know. But I think there's enough talent, and again, they're gonna be looking for major call-ups. I don't think you can just go, okay, Black and Ricochet are officially on the main roster, and that's your big call-up. So I think it has to be the Dream.
See, I got a different theory about that, but we'll get to that in a minute. Callum, how you thinking? Are you going Matt Riddle, or are you thinking Velveteen Dream's got a little bit more time with that belt?
100% going Matt Riddle for this one. It's just a case of I don't think Velveteen Dream needs the championship to make him look good.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of holding it by the sense of he now has a championship to his name, so that gives him a bit more credibility. It means that he's gotten a bit of it's a reward for the work that he's put in. He definitely deserves to have held a championship by the time that he leaves NXT. I don't necessarily believe that he is getting called up. I think he definitely could be called up and be a major star, and so I'm not going to rule it out entirely, but I think he still has a big role to play in NXT for the next few months at the very least. Just as a guy who could fight for the championship, or like the NXT championship, or a guy that can put over new stars because he's well established already. It's hard to say he's a veteran because he's still so young, but he's been there long enough and been in the system that beating him is like a mark of quality. And I think Matt Riddle should hold this championship for a good year once he wins it. It's just a sense of like, I could see this being, and I know some people draw similarities between Matt Riddle and RVD because of the weed smoking thing, but this could be like his RVD's television championship, where by the end of his reign, you can kind of take the impression of, okay, so is this the main title or is the NXT championship the main championship? You kind of get that sort of vibe out of it. Because I think you could have people, because you kind of feel that people like Gargano and Ciampa when he comes back, and Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream and a few other top people will be battling around for the NXT championship. Matt Riddle could just have defense after defense after defense of this championship and just keep it more stable. I just think that there's a lot of room to have this essentially be Matt Riddle's title for a while.
I like it.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So, one of the things that I kind of think is sort of interesting about this is you mentioned before, the crowd's going to be feeling the bro. Velveteen Dream's very, very popular with the NXT crowd. And the NXT crowd is kind of like on the smarkier side of things. And of course, the New York market is very smarky. So is it going to be like, let's go Riddle, let's go Dream, let's go Riddle, let's go Dream? Or is it going to be, let's pick a side? Or, you know what I mean? Like, what do you guys think with that?
This is a both these guys match.
There, I forgot about that shit. Yeah.
But I think whoever they see establishing dominance, they're going to go with it. Like, if Matt Riddle starts to, like, elbow the shit out of Velveteen Dream, they're just going to start chanting, bro, and they'll go with it all the way through the end. You know?
Yeah, I think, like, I don't know how obviously the match is going to be laid out, because they're both, like you say, very popular, but it's just a case of, you'd assume that Dream will play heel for this match because he's more familiar with it, and Riddle hasn't played heel. Obviously, he played heel in the Indies, but he hasn't played heel since coming to NXT. And he's the new guy as well. Dream is a bit more established, and he is the champion going into it as well. And you can play into the story of the fact that Riddle is the better fighter, but Dream is crafty, and he will take any advantage that he can get.
That's kind of where I'm looking at it too. It's like Dream's gonna, if anybody does anything underhanded, it's gonna be Dream.
Yeah, but Dream is so over that if he does say underhanded, he'll still get cheered for it.
Yeah. So we're all going Riddle.
Yep.
We're all still in agreement here. I got a feeling we're all going to be in agreement about the United Kingdom Championship match, which, by the way, just a random aside, it is weird for me to always type out like the full NXT UK side of things and type out NXT UK Tag Team Championship, the NXT UK Women's Championship, the WWE United Kingdom Champion. It seems like it should be the NXT UK Championship. It's just one of those things. But the United Kingdom title is on the line. Pete Dunne, who has held it for like 980 fucking days. And I don't even think that that's an exaggeration. It's something like 538 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's cracked 600 at this point, hasn't he?
That's insane. It's awesome though, because he is great. And his title reign is totally coming to an end because he's up against Volta, who is so big that his fucking name is in caps all the time.
Just to be specific with it, it's now 683 days.
Jeez, it's an extra 100 days more than I was expecting. 683 days. This dude has had the longest title reign out of anybody in
modern history, yeah.
I think since like fucking Hulk Hogan or something.
Yeah, probably Hogan as the WWE champion.
That's crazy. And they didn't go with him as the first champion either. It was Tyler Bate, so that's weird.
Yeah, he looks like a bit of a bitch now with only 125 days.
Yeah.
Big strong boy wins the big title and he's like 19 years old and everybody goes crazy. Pete Dunne comes along and he's like, yeah, hold my beer.
Yeah, he's really gone backwards since 19.
I mean, sheer size alone, Walter's got this. Pete Dunne has held it for, at this point, it'll be almost 690 days. That's long enough that you can lose it and you're not a transitional champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking paper champion. Pete Dunne's only defended it, like, you know.
He loses it here and he might be a paper champion. I don't know.
Yeah, because he might be squashed into paper.
Yeah.
But my only worry or concern with this match is that it's so good it causes me to spontaneously combust and I miss the rest of the weekend.
See, my worry about this is that your expectations are going to be too high and you're going to be a little disappointed.
There's no chance. I don't think this can. I genuinely don't think this can underdeliver. Listen, the Joe Coffey Pete Dunne match was far better than I was expecting it to be, and like that was the previous like championship match that I saw, and this one's got Walter in it. And if it's anywhere close to that level, then it will have at least matched my expectations, and I think it's going to far surpass them. This is the sort of thing where you go into thinking, well, that Kenny Omega, Okada, they can't do their second match, can't be better than their first one, and then they just do it. This is what I kind of feel about this match. And maybe I'm building it up too much, but it's just I have so much faith in these two to produce a match, which is arguably going to steal the weekend.
Do you think it's going to end up being a match of the year candidate?
Absolutely.
I think they'd have to work hard for this not to be. But I also get a sense that a lot of people will that some people will walk away from this thinking, what's the big deal about Walter? Because Walter's style is very, very... Well,
Old school.
Yeah, it's old school. And it's a lot of chops, it's a lot of stomps, it's a lot of like power bombs, very basic wrestling maneuvers. Whereas Pete Dunne is a lot more technically savvy and will use his smaller size and his speed and high flying in order to try and take down Walter. But I can kind of envision this match being Rocky against Ivan Drago, which is essentially just Pete Dunne getting beaten up as much as possible and getting a few hope spots in where people just get excited about it. Walter's in control for the majority of it, but it won't end the same way the Rocky IV.
Yeah, I was gonna say which
because
outcome for that is it gonna be Apollo in the end? Or...
Like I feel so I really want to send out an early prayer to Pete Dunne's chest before this match takes place because like it might not exist after this match. It might just be a skeleton underneath it.
Yeah, the poor man's got a family. I hope he doesn't, get grounded into paste. This match may be the match of the weekend, but it's also a big weekend. Do you think that this match is too good where it just takes away from everything else, or do you think everything else, because of the name value and the story around it, will take away from this match?
I got a feeling, if anything, that this is going to be so undersold. Like, they're really not advertising this as one of the main headline things. Of course, they're going with Gargano Cole as the, watch this because this is going to be happening on the card and stuff. But even TakeOver itself is just being overtaken by WrestleMania. So this is kind of flying under the radar a little bit. And I think that if any match is going to surprise people more than like what the expectations and the hype were going into it, it probably would be this match.
I imagine this having a similar impact to the Tyler Bate Pete Dunne like Chicago match.
Yeah.
Where that match it had no hype going into it because even at that point they didn't even have an NXT UK show to promote this stuff. So it was just put onto the card based on the fact that those two were awesome and absolutely stole that entire event and arguably produced the match of the year for that year. And I can kind of see this having the same effect. Only this one has a bit more hype surrounding it because, like you say, Pete Dunne has held that title for nearly 700 days. And Walter is so widely known on the independent circuit. And this is a Smarky crowd, so they'll know who Walter is and they'll know how good he is.
Final question for you, Callum. How mad are you that this isn't happening in the UK?
I mean, I'm happy that it's happening. I would love to see it in the UK at some point. And I would hope to see a rematch at the UK at some point. But yeah, I'm just pleased that it's happening and I get to watch it. It's gonna kick so much ass.
And we're all going Walter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have the NXT Women's Championship on the line in a Fatal 4-Way, which is the theme of the fucking weekend because there's like 9 Fatal 4-Way matches that are happening. Shayna Baszler is going to be facing Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Kairi Sane, which I'm very kind of curious that they added Kairi Sane into the mix because I would have thought, if anything, Shirai and Belair stood far and above Kairi Sane at this point for potential challengers.
I mean,
I think that that's the main reason why is because she's the one taking the loss.
I mean, she's the NXT Superstar of the Year.
Yeah,
but she had already had multiple matches with Baszler, and Shirai and Belair were the ones spearheading this whole thing. Sane was just sort of like, hey, I'm Shirai's friend,
Tony, how many gold ring bells do you have? Because she won 2. And that's just for being her bubbly self.
I mean, I gotta check my storage area, but...
I have a question. Now, on the promotional material for this match, they have, obviously, you know how the NXT TakeOver New York, they have basically people standing over the buildings in New York.
Mm-hmm.
They have the 4 women standing over the buildings, but there are ladders underneath them.
Yeah, I thought that was very strange, and I think that that's probably an error on the graphics department more than anything else, because, earlier today, they put up a thing about NXT TakeOver pre-show, and they didn't erase the 2019 fully. There's just there's like half of the 2 is gone and whatever, so... I think that maybe there was a plan that they were going to do a ladder match, and they probably scrapped it, and they just forgot to change that on the background.
I think it's deliberate. I think that I think it will be turned into a ladder match, either on the next episode of NXT, because obviously it's been recorded before the next episode of NXT, and they'll do a backstage segment regarding it, or they'll announce it on the show itself.
Possibly.
Because last year they had a huge ladder match, which was arguably the best match on the card, obviously with Gargano Ciampa on it as well. It was a close run thing, but that was an awesome match. And as far as I'm aware, there's no ladder match scheduled for WrestleMania.
That's
no,
true.
and if they would have done some kind of a ladder match thing, they probably would have put that in that SmackDown Tag Team title match, which there still is potential that they can change that on the fly, but yeah, I mean, it would make more sense if they were to do it for this one then.
I mean, I'm not saying certainty that it will be a fatal 4-way ladder match, so if it isn't a ladder match, don't like come crying to me saying that I said it was going to be. I'm just positing the fact that they have got those ladders in the promotional material, and if it is a mistake, then it is a mistake. But it's still there. So at this moment in time, I would predict that that's the way it's going to go, and in which case it means that you don't need to worry about who's taking the loss or anything like that. I agree with you that if it's a traditional fatal 4-way, then Sane is probably the one taking the pin. But if it's a ladder match, it raises a lot more interesting scenarios.
If it's a ladder match, I'll go and change my prediction from what I am eventually going to be saying here. But I think if they do book it as a ladder match, that's their means to take the title off of Baszler.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. It keeps Baszler strong because she was never pinned to lose the championship, but it also means that the other person has had to work hard to actually win it in the first place. So it makes both sides, keeps them both strong, heading into whatever plans they have next for them.
Well, at that point, then it's Io Shirai versus Bianca Belair, and it's one of those two winning the title. Which, then, if that's the case, I'm saying Belair wins, and I think that Io Shirai and Kairi Sane are the two that, if they start factoring in the NXT side of things with the women's tag team titles, those are the only two real functional options, because they're not going to be like, NXT is going to have a crossover thing, and Boston Hug Connection, they're going to fight Aaliyah and Vanessa Bourne. It's not going to happen.
Could be worse. They could be fighting the Iconics. Oh, right.
Well, they could be fighting Jackson Tamina again.
I also think they're definitely fighting Bourne and Aaliyah for their first defense on NXT.
Really?
Well, yeah, I think that Sane and Shirai are coming up after this.
We're all over the place on this one, because my gut reaction to this originally was just Shayna Baszler retains and beats Kairi Sane, but...
Yeah. Well, we're kind of trying to posit all the things. I think, regardless of whether it's fatal 4-way, like traditional fatal 4-way or a ladder match, Belair's winning.
I'm trying to picture in my head an actual finish, and I'm going to say Baszler's got Shirai in the Karafuda clutch, but she holds on for too long while Bianca pins Kairi Sane for the 1-2-3.
If Baszler is coming up to the main roster, which very well could happen at WrestleMania, I'm getting into WrestleMania predictions a little bit here, but there is a very good chance that we have the 4 horsewomen versus the 4 horsewomen at the end of the night for WrestleMania. And if that happens, Baszler has to lose the title, I think. I don't think that they can do anything where they're like, well, let's keep the title on her and she can be holding the championship, and then we can eventually have her lose it at the next TakeOver or something, which that's TakeOver San Jose. That's June 8th. That's far too long to kind of keep that going. I think that the smart bet in some regards is always to say, well, Shayna Baszler wins pretty much everything, so let's go with her. But if they go with the ladder match in particular, then Bianca Belair wins. She's the only one that I can see really winning the championship coming out of this. And she either pins Kairi Sane or she climbs the ladder. Can't see any scenario where Io Shirai or Kairi Sane wins, especially not Kairi Sane.
If they do make it a ladder match, I'd be interested to see somebody try to tie Bianca's braid to a ladder to stop her from going anywhere.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be a great spot.
Or you know what? Even if that's how the match ends, if she and I don't know, let's say it's just Io Shirai, if they're standing on top of the ladder and whatever, and they're trying to punch each other back and forth to get the one of them off of that, and she just whips her hair around, and that's how she knocks her down.
That'd be great.
I think that would only be topped by a spot where the title's hanging up, and Kairi Sane's the only one in the ring, and she pulls out a telescope to see the title before she starts climbing.
Or, and this might be asking a little much, but can Bianca take the belt down with her braid?
She just like hooks it over there and pulls it down.
Yeah,
like what's her name? Dixie Kong.
What she does is like she puts her braid through it like a grappling thing or whatever, like a zip wire, and then she slides down the zip wire to the entrance ramp with the championship.
I got it. So she hooks her hair into the little hook that they have with the title, but it doesn't take it down. Instead, she dangles like Jeff Hardy, and Edge runs in and spears her.
Or she gets so hooked up in it that she actually becomes the championship, and so they have to take her down to win the match instead of the title.
And they hang her by her hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she's just like grows it out a little longer, and then they just have her sort of dangling. And
so we put this match now. So now you know what to expect for this one.
Yeah, now you know all the possibilities for a match that may or may not even be a ladder match.
Yeah. But I'm going with Belair to win overall, and I think all three other women are getting called up next week. So,
I push comes to shove, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Belair, but I will still reserve a little bit of. It's hard to take Baszler out of the equation unless you know for sure that they're bringing her up. It's not going to be Shirai. It's not going to be Sane.
The only way I can see them bringing Baszler up for sure is if they go, all right, well, whoever wins, obviously it'll be Becky. You got past Ronda. Well, Ronda's going to go away for a little bit. She sent me to come get her championship back, you know?
It's tough. Because, I mean, this is WrestleMania season. This is the time where they make a lot of big calls that change the entire year. And sometimes they're major surprises, and sometimes they're exactly what we thought were going to be happening. And I don't know. Kind of interesting. We have one more match to talk about here for TakeOver, and that is the 2 out of 3 falls match for the vacant NXT Championship. Adam Cole is going to be facing Johnny Gargano because Tommaso Ciampa, the original plan was going to be 2 out of 3 falls, Ciampa Gargano, and Ciampa is injured, unfortunately, because this feud can never die. And it's just sort of like, as soon as you get to the point where it's supposed to end, something happens, and then they have to stall it a little longer, which in some ways it's good. In some ways it's kind of frustrating. So I think that this would have been a really good end to everything. And now we're getting something it's a replacement match. It's clearly not the plan. And I don't know exactly how it's all going to balance out, but I'm a little nervous about it, to be honest. And it's not from the two people involved. The two people involved are going to have a hell of a match. They're just two of the best people that they have in NXT. They're extremely reliable. There's no way this match goes down and it sucks or anything. What I'm nervous about is WWE has a tendency when plans change that they go with whatever the opposite thing is from what they had already planned. And for instance, like, this is a weird thing to call back to out of all things, but the original plan was Chris Benoit versus CM Punk. And they were going to be doing a whole thing with Punk feuding for the title and, trying to earn respect that way with Benoit. Well, they ended up going with Johnny Nitro. And then they just put the title on Johnny Nitro and they waited a little bit for that. When they had the whole thing with Gargano and Ciampa, it looked like they were going to head towards Gargano being like this 100% babyface this entire time with this feud. And then they did this whole heel turn and they changed things up and whatever. And it's kind of just, maybe they go with Adam Cole instead of Gargano. Whereas it looked like Gargano was guaranteed to win this.
You have a tendency to really doubt Adam Cole in times of championship matches.
Partially because I think that the Undisputed Era is coming up to the main roster.
You're out of your mind. They're the anchor of NXT. They can't go anywhere right now. I think Adam Cole absolutely wins that championship. In the match, by the way, that, well, Callum's waiting for Dunne and Walter. This is going to make me explode. I love these guys so much, and I absolutely think Adam Cole is winning that belt, and I'll tell you why. Gargano needs somebody to chase now. The
But hasn't
Undisputed
he
Era,
just been chasing for a year and a half? And isn't that kind of like, aren't we
but
done with that a little bit?
some people are really good at chasing, and he's one of them. You know? That's kind of a role that he fits very well. It's kind of like Brett. Brett was always better chasing the champion, chasing Yoko, chasing Diesel or whoever. He was always better chasing because he's the scrappy underdog you put in the chase. You don't give him the trophy for too long.
I'm kind of in agreement with Rob in the sense that I'd see Adam Cole winning this match far more than I see Johnny Gargano. More along the lines of just thinking that it doesn't feel right for Gargano to win this championship if it's not Ciampa he's beating. Because at the end of the day, this isn't the match they had planned. And I'll just kind of say it far more than anything else. Adam Cole will make a much better NXT champion than Johnny Gargano would.
My man.
Not to the sense that Gargano isn't a fantastic wrestler, because he is arguably the best wrestler in the entirety of WWE. But Adam Cole is, as a champion, as a presence, as a personality, just is so much better than Johnny Gargano, and arguably better than anyone that NXT can produce right now.
See, I don't doubt Adam Cole's ability to have a great title reign and to do great things and all that. And I also, for that matter, I don't doubt that Johnny Gargano can pull that off too. I kind of feel like they've been, I guess for lack of a better term, snake bit when it came to this, because if they would have been able to do Gargano Ciampa, they would have been able to finish the story, Gargano wins the title, and then they would have been able to move on from where they wanted to go. And now, if they go with either option on here, it's going to feel like there's something strange about it. Because if Cole wins, Gargano's just going to do the same thing he's been doing for a year, where now it becomes, oh, Gargano's going to fight Cole at the next TakeOver, and he's going to lose again, and then he's going to fight at the next TakeOver, and he's going to lose again, and then, I can't win the championship, and I can't do this. And as far as I'm aware, Ciampa isn't supposed to be back for many, many months. And then we're just putting that off again for like an entire year. And it seems like maybe it's time to move on and then revisit that feud with Ciampa attacking Gargano, who is the champion, instead, or something, like, then it becomes, you never beat me for the championship. You don't deserve that championship. And then maybe we get something like Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels, where it's like dual champion thing, or, something like that. Whereas with Adam Cole, I feel like if he wins the NXT championship, he's not only going to stick around NXT and just be stuck with NXT, but the rest of the Undisputed Era is, and then what are they going to do? They're only going to be the lackeys for him, because they can't continue this War Raiders feud and make it seem like it's anything other than just repeats. We've had that for 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months, I think it is how long that took. And if they're not fighting for the tag team titles, and you don't have like Roderick Strong against Velveteen Dream or something, or Matt Riddle, it's just sort of, how do you balance it all out? And the Undisputed Era are at a point where I think that they can come up to the main roster and be a focal point of the tag team titles. So it's kind of, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, even though both options are fantastic. Kind of a way to put it. Like, I'm a huge fan of both of these guys, and in any other scenario, both of them could be amazing champions, even on the main roster. And I just feel like now is the wrong time for either of them to be champion. So I'm going to go with Gargano. I think that they're just going to go with, fuck it, we had planned on doing Gargano, let's just do it. And I can very, very easily be wrong about that.
Well, I think that they were only going to go with Gargano to get it onto Adam Cole, because the Undisputed Era has been touting, we're going to get all the gold in NXT. They haven't hinted once towards, all right, we're going to move up. And I really do think that them as the anchor, with a lot of baby faces on the other side of that, you've got Matt Riddle, Velveteen Dream, you have baby faces. You don't have enough strong heels for Gargano to face. So I think you can build a story of Gargano going through the Undisputed Era to get to Adam Cole and then finally win the belt, maybe in Canada for SummerSlam. But I think definitely Adam Cole's night is in New York.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Adam Cole as well. Mainly also in hope of the fact that I don't really just want Undisputed Era to come up and fritter away in a hopeless tag team division in either Raw or SmackDown. It's just they're far more prominent, as whether it does end up being stale and it leads to repeat matches or not, it's still far preferable situation for them to be in NXT, being the top stars, the top heels, having great matches with great opponents, than just being a aspect of a tag team division that doesn't have any real direction or momentum right now.
Fair enough. I mean, we're going to figure out how this is all going to play out in just a few days. So, of course, stay tuned for the actual coverage of TakeOver New York, everybody, that is happening on Friday evening. I forget exactly when the pre-show is supposed to start. Do you guys know offhand?
6:30?
Something like that, probably. That makes sense. So that'll be on smarkoutmoment.com. In the meantime, put your predictions down in the comments below and tell us what you thought about not only just our predictions on our own, but what you think is going to be happening. And we will get into our review side of things on the post show for that one. And if you want to be aware of when those things go up, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell for the notifications. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment. Obviously, you can check out the smarkoutmoment.com RSS feed. You can follow all the other kind of accounts that we've got on all the different types of platforms and stuff. Plug-wise, I'm going to breeze through a couple things really fast. There's Redbubble and TeePublic for merchandise. There's a Patreon. There's fanboysanonymous.com for me. There's eWrestling News and Bleacher Report that I've got on the Foreign Objects, and I'm probably forgetting some other things. Oh, actually, I am. Smark Madness Tournament. Go ahead and vote for that if you haven't already for this week. And the Funko Pop contest that we've got going on. Put another couple of entries in that one. That's my plugs. Rob?
Okay, I also have eWrestling News currently up in the podcast feed and the YouTube channel. I previewed Ring of Honor and New Japan's G1 Supercard. I'll be doing a post show of that show on Saturday night with Callum Wiggins. Callum, tell them about everything else we got.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14 and check out all the weekly stuff on Small Count Moment, including the power rankings and the triple threats and all of that stuff. And you can check out 2001 Wrestling Odyssey, where we're reviewing the year 2001. 2001 Wrestling Odyssey, not 2000. We've been doing it very wrong if that's the case, but we were reviewing 2001 instead. So 2001 Wrestling Odyssey, we just did our review of WrestleMania 17, or X7, if you want to give it its branded name. So check those out.
Alrighty, everybody, that's it for TakeOver New York predictions. As I mentioned before, thank you for all of your support. We will see you where we're rolling along here in the next video, which is going to be, on the next podcast, whatever you're listening to, which is going to be predictions for WrestleMania 35. So stay tuned for that, everybody, and we will see you there. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.